Chair of the session, Mr. Anil Rajdan, my very eminent co-panelist, His Excellency Dr. Rashid Al-Leem, my erstwhile colleague from ONGC, Mr. Rakesh Vij, dignitaries of the dais. Very good afternoon to all of you. In fact, my job has been made slightly easier by Dr. Rashid Al-Leem by giving a very invigorating talk, especially after Tench. Mr. Srivastava, I coined this word, how is it for tea plus lunch? I can see the audience has already thinned down, and even I was feeling sleepy while sitting there after having a sumptuous lunch arranged by the organizers. But he has woken us up, and he gave two mantras in this. One was kiss. Again, my reference to Valentine, this is different kiss, keeping it simple. I'll not say stupid, but I'll keep it short and sweet. And second thing is he said that uncertainty is the new normal. I was thinking of that. He referred to uncertainty in the morning as well, about uncertainty is the new world order. And the minister, Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal also referred to the new normal. I was thinking of coining this for this, so he has preempted me and he has taken this. So uncertainty is new normal. So talking about exploration and production, which is the topic of this session, and the challenges, the uncertainty has added more and more challenges. Exploration and production has always had challenges, but when the world was simple 159 years ago, when we did the first oil drilling, etc., the challenges also were simple. Firstly, the drilling challenges were simple. I mean, like percussion drilling to develop to rotary drilling, etc. All those technological challenges have been surmounted. Then just geological challenges, we moved from shallow very easy terrain to difficult terrains, to shallow waters, to deep waters and all that. Now more challenges have been added in that. Political challenges, geopolitical challenges. Now the latest challenges is this the market. And the oil and gas producers have seen many, life cycles, in their life cycles, many of the events. I have in my own lifetime, I have seen in my service three such events. One was at mid-80s when that Middle East and Israel, conflict. Then this 2008-9, when this financial leaders of the world, they had their greed and then they sort of created havoc. And the last one, but the one now which is now almost 3 years old, from middle of 2014 till now. When the oil prices although have started going a little north, but they are still about 50% discount. And what is happening is, despite OPEC and non-OPEC countries agreeing to cut down 1.8 million barrels of oil, the oil prices have not risen. And the reference to shale came in the morning as well as now also by Mr. Rajdan. The shale producers of US, they are very resilient. They are much more resilient than what the OPEC countries had thought, and the oil prices have only increased by about 60-70 cents. Shale is very successful in the world, in US especially, and others have tried to emulate, but they have not been successful. When we progress on this discussion, I mean, I'll just make a reference to what is happening in shale in India. So, this time, not only the length of this downturn has been long, but the way the demand has been so slow and is not rising up or not reacting even to the low prices is what is really causing concerns. To my mind, there lies the primary challenge in today, in this sector of exploration and production at a macro and global level, that this low demand is a result of so many factors. I mean, some attributed to China. Their consumption pattern is changing, and some to continued slowdown in OECD countries, some to growth in renewables, and also to the increasingly important role that the efficiency is playing in energy circles. So what is now clearer to the professionals of oil and gas sector is that they cannot assume that oil and gas are the only alternatives, that these only equals energy. They have to now agree to this, to admit to this, that the hydrocarbons are only an alternative. Though they are today still a strong alternative, and they'll continue to be a strong alternative for at least 2 to 3 decades, which all the pundits are saying, and their choice of consumer energy because of default, because infrastructure is robust as far as these are concerned, and infrastructure is yet to be developed even for gas. there has been a talk of peak demand now. I mean, there used to be a talk of peak oil production, etc. in the past. Now there's a talk of peak demand. There's also a talk of oil and gas getting, extinguished. So there is a crisis of existence which has been talked about. I do not subscribe to any of this. In fact, the demand is still there. The projections by all this, the pundits, IMF, IEA, all that, they are indicating that the demand for oil and gas has been growing, for oil at least, roughly at 1 to 1.5 million barrels on an average annually. And oil and gas will still remain the dominant fuel in the energy basket, as vast number of population, especially in developing countries, do not have access to reliable energy because of conventional fuels having proper infrastructure in place. So they are still the best bet. But I think here also there are challenges, and the primary challenge is one of reinvention. I mean, if the oil and gas producers, the explorators, they think that they can continue working the way they have been doing in the past, what has brought you this far will take you any further is not going to be true. We must reinvent ourselves, the industry, and the way people perceive us. We must change the way we operate and do our business. Sustainability, which Mr. Aleem talked about, is also one of the important things which needs to be integrated in everything which we do. But we have to be much more efficient in the way we look for oil and gas, in the way we explore, the way we develop our infrastructure for development, and the way we finally extract and transport them. And there is also the need to bring in higher standards of safety across our operations. The way the accidents are taking place during transportation in pipelines and during exploration, because we are now dealing with high pressures, high temperatures, etc. So chances for accidents are also more. And technology is becoming such an important tool or enabling tool that every day we are crossing new barriers. ONGC, for instance, has drilled in adjoining area of Reliance in a water depth of more than 3,000 meters. The technology is not there to produce, but at least technology was there for the drilling to continue. So we have drilled in 3,146 meter water depth, which is a record till date. And we have drilled about 6,000 to 7,000 meters, and we have struck hydrocarbon there. So technology is what is needed. Mr. Rajdan made reference of gas hydrates, so out of turn I'll speak about gas hydrates also. Gas hydrates, the known resources are in thousands of TCF. And they are normally found in underwater, deep waters, etc., where the pressure and temperatures are conducive for them. And in and around Indian waters, there's a lot of gas hydrates available. But no one is talking about gas hydrates production even in 2040. I mean, in the past they used to indicate this, but all this, if you see BP's outlook or IEA outlook, etc., no one is talking about production from gas hydrates. The shale gas or shale oil technology also, just took up also sudden in US, and it became a craze, and it has changed the face of US's energy scenario. So a disruptive technology only will help gas hydrates. Otherwise, today the technology is not there. The countries like US, Canada, Japan, and as far as we are concerned in India, we are doing a lot of work on exploration. But the technology for production is more important, more critical here. Because if you produce this thing, the methane crystals which are there, once they come out and all that, and the void is created, the rock becomes unstable. How do you sustain that? So that is the technology which everybody is trying to find out. The day that technology will be available, I think we would be really seeing the end of conventional oil and gas the way we see it today. So I was talking about technology, that this technology is important, and going forward, as demands for energy expands, we will be moving to more and more difficult areas, and we'll be needing more innovative technologies and techniques. Even in emerging ones, like I was talking about deep waters, ultra deep waters, high pressure and high temperature areas, this technology is going to play a very important role. Deen Dayal Upadhyay field is one example where the high pressures are there, high temperatures are there. reservoir is very tight. The technology is not there to actually produce there. The metallurgy has not been developed to even complete the wells there properly. So that is the kind of challenges which we are facing every day. ONGC's plan to develop 98/2, which I was just talking about. So there are two areas in that, the northern block and the southern block. Northern block is slightly shallower, 1100 meters of water depth. When I was the chairman, from that time onwards, we have been trying to draw the development plans there, but it was not becoming viable, even at that prevailing prices of gas. What has happened in the meanwhile is that ONGC has struck more oil there, and it has tilted the economy more favorably towards exploiting that. Also, I mean, they have done this lot of work and they have brought down the cost by $1.4 billion to be able to make it more viable. And now they are hoping to start production in 3 to 4 years. So this is what is, once we are able to successfully implement this technology and develop this field, I think the world will start looking at Indian E&P industry with a renewed interest and renewed respect. Speaking of India, the challenge of the sector must be juxtaposed to the compelling energy demand. In the morning also, I made a mention that we are today the third largest consumer of energy, and our global energy demand is going to rise further and further, and then demand is set to become double within the next 2 decades. And especially a country which houses or has 1/6 of the global population but has less than 1% of the reserves, this is very important. So the challenge to E&P sector is compounded. Not only will it have to become more technologically invested, more efficient in response to the global energy needs, the sector must also step up the challenges of meeting the galloping energy demand of the country and bridge its supply deficit. Rising imports, which many speakers have mentioned in the morning, are to the tune of 80% today. And since the oil prices have calmed down, our import bill has eased. Otherwise, it had gone down to about $143 billion in 2012-13. It was about $98 billion last year. But in last 10 years, when the oil prices were high, we have spent nearly $1 trillion in only importing oil. So if our economy is $2 trillion, we have imported oil alone worth $1 trillion in last 1 decade. So when the Prime Minister has given us a challenge that we need to reduce our import by 10% by 2022 when we celebrate our 75th anniversary of independence, it is going to be an Herculean task. An exercise which was done indicates that we need to increase production. Mr. Sharma was mentioning 87. My information is that we need to have a production of 107 million tons. Today, country's oil production is only 37 million tons, and if we add gas production of 32 BCM, it is still even half of that. So the committee which was set to see as to how this is possible indicated that we need to increase production or we need to reduce consumption. If we have to reduce consumption, the consumption of oil needs to be reduced by about 32 million tons and the gas by 32 BCM. Today our country's entire production of gas is 32 BCM and country's oil production is 37 million tons. So how can you reduce consumption of oil and gas to that level? So it is going to be a daunting task, but I mean, unless until you have a challenging task, there is no enjoyment of meeting that challenge. So the onus is on the domestic E&P community, especially the public sector entities, which hold nearly 80% of the domestic reserves, to rise to this challenge. And what is really difficult here is that there's no indication, clear indication of the movement of commodity which sort of indicates as to how profitable the investments are going to be. But it is really encouraging to see that the way companies, especially ONGC again, have responded. It has lined up strong suite of projects as well as they have sustained capex level of previous times during this downturn. The point is, the approach is, I mean, some of us can say that this is counter-cyclical, but this will definitely yield positive outcomes because in long run, the gestational period of oil and gas projects are a few years, 3 to 5 years, and they will outlast the price cycle and the benefits upon implementation will definitely be there and will be long lasting. So ONGC will reap benefits of this. And also, one of the arguments which has been given is that the deflated costs in the service sector right now, they can avail this rather than waiting for the market to tighten. I remember in 2008-9 when we were taking up this deep water projects, I had just come on the board of ONGC, and the deep water rigs were not available even for any prices. The deep water rigs were nearly $500,000 a day charter rate, and they were not available even if you wanted to pay that much. Today, same deep water rigs are available for about $250,000 a day. So that is the point. I mean, if the well, a deep water well used to cost $75 to $100 million, it will cost half that much today if we have to drill today. So that's how the economies can be played. So while the operators do what is required of them, which I have given these examples, it is also important to identify the potential hurdles and challenges that could derail such efforts of E&P sector. So before I close down, let me highlight, gas pricing has been talked about a lot. Current prices of $2.5 million a million BTU for conventional gas is less than even the pre-existing gas prices. ONGC's cost of gas production, when I was the CMD till 3 years ago, is in excess of $3 per million BTU. So if you can't produce at $3 per million BTU from onshore and shallow waters, how can you produce from deep waters? I mean, although for deep water some formula has been given, but that formula again, I doubt, the way Mr. Sharma also was saying, that we are not privy to that information, but I doubt that 98/2 whether it will be viable at that kind of premium which is available on the deep water and HPHT gas. So in my view, the price cap which has been put on this, even the premium, that probably needs to be reviewed in a manner which does not compromise the consumer's interest, but at the same time it gives and motivates E&P operator some incentives for long-term plan for monetization of all this deep water projects. First of all, the oil and gas discoveries are becoming less. The oil has been known for nearly 150 years. So discoveries of oil are becoming far and few between. The discoveries of gas are more, and more of these gas discoveries which we have had in ONGC are again from deep water. So one study which I was sharing with Mr. Srivastava was done by one international consultant, and they indicated that India's gas reserves, conventional gas reserves, are of the order of about 69 TCF, but these are price sensitive. I mean, at that, the then prevailing prices, this was the available reserves. But they indicated that if we have $10 gas price, this is in the previous regime, when this gas prices were about to be increased to $8 or $12, and all this canvassing for gas price increase was going on. So they indicated that in case the gas prices are increased to $10, we'll have about 60 odd TCF of gas to be produced. But if the gas prices go to $12 per million BTU, there is 90 TCF of gas to be produced. 90 TCF more than what has already been committed to be produced at current levels. So this is will give you some sort of insight of what is that incentive I'm talking about. Another issue is marginal cost of oil. While I was a CMD, I mean, I have continuously battled for this. One thing is that ONGC's 75% production is coming from 15 fields which are between 30 years to 50 years old. And they cannot produce this much. And the investment which is required to keep them productive, like, just give you one small example. For each barrel of oil which is being produced from Bombay High, we have to inject 4 barrels of water. When I was young, and was working in Bombay offshore, the average oil production was about 10,000 barrels a day. Today it is less than 1,000 barrels a day. So, and the effort which is required. So when we took the first phase of redevelopment of Bombay High, the marginal cost of production was additional $5 a barrel. Our average cost of production for globally across ONGC was about $41. And this added another $5 to produce additional oil. This was to increase the recovery from Bombay High, drilling more wells, injecting more waters, etc. So laying more pipelines, investing in more platforms, etc. When we took up the second phase of redevelopment in 2008 and 9, the additional cost was $12 a barrel. By the time we were ready with third phase, in every phase we were adding recovery of 1.5 to 2%. By the time we came to third phase, it was not becoming viable at less than $60 a barrel. I very vividly remember in the board, we have rejected redevelopment of phase 3, and we requested that government takes a decision of giving ONGC $65, ONGC and Oil India together, $65 for all our projects without subsidies, then only we can develop the kind of projects which are there in hand. So ONGC has cumulatively produced 100 million ton from this kind of marginal, from EOR and IOR projects, and there is yet another about 60-70 million ton which is to be produced. So unless until this kind of incentives are not given, I am just trying to make a point giving examples of ONGC. These are valid for any producer which is producing from EOR and IOR mechanisms. So unless until these incentives are given, it will be difficult. So although the drop in crude prices have effectively removed the burden of subsidies, like ONGC was paying between 40,000 to 50,000 crores of subsidy every year, that has gone down, but at the same time the prices also have come down. But the policy is still not clear, so there's a need of having a clearly articulated and transparent subsidy sharing mechanism in place so that oil and gas companies can plan their capital programs and market moves such as merger and acquisitions and also their dividend payouts, etc. Government, of course, has taken some positive and progressive steps in the sector which were already being flagged by the operators from time to time, and they were under consideration for a long time. And they have now fructified now, like this HELP, which is new form of NELP, new exploration licensing policy becoming hydrocarbon exploration licensing policy, having provisions of uniform licensing, means you can explore for everything, conventional as well as unconventional hydrocarbons, marketing and pricing freedom, etc., and the decision to allow premium on HPHT and deep water gas, also allowing exploration to continue throughout that currency of the PSC, etc. All this will definitely, give a pap to E&P sector, and E&P sector will take a lot of heart from such a supportive framework. The national data repository work is almost complete, and with that we can hope that the new bidding round will be through open acreage. The last round of NELP, that NELP round 10 was in fact ready in January 2014 and has been hanging fire since then just to decide as to what should be the model, whether revenue sharing model or cost recovery model, etc. So, I mean, this is important from the viewpoint that 1 million square kilometer of the sedimentary area is yet to be explored. And just to give impetus to exploration, only all this bidding rounds were introduced. So things are not all that gloomy. Things are beginning to fall in place with global demand and supply equilibrium being reached and oil prices showing some sign of recovery in Indian E&P industry. We'll definitely find traction with a supportive policy framework. And despite the challenges which the sector faces, as a passionate oilman, I continue to remain very sanguine about E&P's prospects within the country as well as globally. All the doomsayers may say whatever they want, but the oil and gas is going to be here, at least till I live, and I hope to live till 2035, 40 at least. So I think we stand at the cusp of a new order in global E&P business, one that will be defined by an aggressive focus on technology, collaborations, partnerships, and responsiveness to the situations. Thank you so much for your patience.